Jean Grey has been one of the biggest names in Marvel ever since she first appeared as Marvel Girl, one of the original members of the X-Men. Even as a kid, it was obvious she was different. Her mutant powers awakened in the worst way possible when she physically experienced the death of her best friend after a tragic accident. The shock was so overwhelming that Professor X had to place mental blocks inside her mind just to keep her powers under control until she was old enough to handle them. Even then, everyone around her knew Jean wasn't just another mutant. She had the potential to become something far beyond anything the X-Men had ever seen. That potential exploded during a space mission when Jean chose to pilot a damaged shuttle through a deadly radiation storm to save her teammates. Facing certain death, she unknowingly reached out to one of the oldest and most powerful beings in existence, and that's the Phoenix Force. Drawn to her incredible spirit and unmatched psychic potential, the Phoenix bonded itself to Jean on a permanent level. Unlike other characters who have temporarily wielded the Phoenix, Jean is considered its true host. Their connection goes so deep that she eventually becomes the White Phoenix of the Crown. Even without the Phoenix, Jean is already one of the strongest mutants Marvel has ever created. She's the definitive Omega-level telepath, capable of reading, influencing, or completely erasing minds across the planet. Her telekinesis is just as ridiculous, reaching the subatomic level where she can manipulate atoms, molecules, and draw energy. She can create massive force fields, tear apart matter, rebuild it from scratch, or move objects with effortless precision. Once the Phoenix Force enters the picture, those abilities jump to an entirely different scale, given her influence of life, death, time, and the entire universes. Few characters in Marvel history can even stand in the same conversation. Jean's list of feats is honestly hard to believe. As Dark Phoenix, she casually flew into space and consumed an entire star, triggering the destruction of the Debari system and wiping out billions of lives in moments. She later repaired the shattered Macron crystal, the nexus that holds the Marvel multiverse together, rebuilding its cosmic structure piece by piece before reality itself collapsed. During the Krakoan era, she reached her greatest form as the White Phoenix of the Crown and defeated Enigma, erasing it across every timeline at once. Thanks to her bond with the Phoenix, death has also become little more than an inconvenience. She has resurrected herself and brought others back to life countless times, making her one of the few Marvel characters whose power truly reaches the highest level imaginable. Rune King Thor is easily one of the strongest versions of Thor ever written. Appeared during a storyline where Asgard was trapped in an endless cycle of destruction and rebirth. Every time Ragnarok happened, beings known as those who sit above in shadow secretly fed on the life force of dying Asgardian gods. Thor eventually realized that brute strength wasn't enough to break the cycle. Even Odin had never truly escaped it. To save his people forever, Thor needed to surpass his father and gain knowledge that no god had ever possessed. And to reach that level, Thor repeated Odin's greatest sacrifices and pushed them even further. At Mimir's well, he sacrificed both of his eyes instead of just one to gain complete wisdom. Then he hanged himself from Yggdrasil, the World Tree, allowing himself to die in order to unlock the full power and understanding of the ancient runes. When he returned, he wasn't just the god of thunder anymore. By combining the Odin Force with complete mastery over runic magic, Thor transcended the normal limits of the Asgardian gods. He gained an almost complete understanding of fate, existence, and the structure of reality, becoming what fans now call Rune King Thor. At this point, Thor's abilities went far beyond lightning and physical strength. He could manipulate reality with a thought, reshape matter and energy, see the past, present, and future at once, and exist beyond the normal flow of space and time. That itself became meaningless, as he even returned from Hela's realm through the power of the runes. And instead of solving problems by simply hitting harder, Rune King Thor understood the hidden forces controlling reality and rewrote them directly. It was a level of power that made even Odin seem limited by comparison. His feat perfectly showed just how ridiculous this version of Thor really was. He effortlessly erased Mangog, a monster powerful enough to fight Odin, by simply raising one hand. He casually decapitated Loki while keeping him alive, forcing his brother to continue speaking as nothing more than a severed head. He instantly transformed an entire army's Ura weapons into harmless wooden clubs, making them completely useless. Most importantly, he shattered the Loom of Fates, destroying the mechanism that kept Ragnarok repeating forever. That act cut off the power source of those who sit above in shadow, defeating the beings who had manipulated Asgard's destiny for countless ages. And after finally freeing his people from the endless cycle, Thor entered the god's sleep and disappeared into the cosmic void, bringing one of the most powerful transformations in Marvel history to a close. Born in the alternate Age of Apocalypse timeline, Nate was genetically engineered by Mr. Sinister using the DNA of Cyclops and Jean Grey. The goal was simple: create the ultimate mutant weapon. As a result, Nate emerged as an Omega-level psionic, possessing immense telepathic and telekinetic power that rivals the greatest psychic beings in the Marvel Universe. He can read and influence millions of minds simultaneously, create complex illusions, erase memories from entire populations, and mentally control even extremely powerful mutants. He can also manipulate matter down to the molecular or subatomic level, generate nearly indestructible force fields, fly at extreme speeds, and unleash devastating concussive blasts capable of destroying cities. At times, his powers have been so immense that characters like Moira McTaggart suggested his psionic strength could rival Dark Phoenix-level Jean Grey. Beyond standard psychic abilities, Nate eventually evolved into something far more unusual, and that's a living psionic entity. After dissolving his physical body into pure psychic energy, his consciousness continued to exist on the astral plane, allowing him to rebuild his body at will or possess other hosts. From this state, he can absorb psionic energy, manifest psychic weapons and armor, manipulate space and matter, teleport across dimensions, and even warp reality itself. In one storyline, Nate used his powers to create an entire alternate reality known as the Age of X-Men, reshaping history and memories to build a mutant utopia sustained entirely by his psychic will. Because of these feats, Nate Grey has often been described as a near omnipotent being, sometimes compared to cosmic forces in power, though his power has fluctuated over time, sometimes burned out or temporarily limited. It repeatedly returns stronger than before, cementing Nate Grey as one of the most dangerous and godlike mutants in the Marvel multiverse. Nathaniel Essex, better known as Enigma, is easily one of the most powerful villains Marvel has ever introduced. While Mr. Sinister spent decades trying to become the ultimate mastermind, Enigma was secretly the real endgame all along. Back in the 19th century, the original Nathaniel Essex realized that the future would be shaped by both mutants and machines, and instead of relying on a single plan, he created 4 different versions of himself, each chasing godhood through a completely different path. Mr. Sinister focused on mutant genetics, Dr. Stasis on humanity and biotechnology, or Bestselleris on alien technology and cosmic evolution, and Mother Righteous on magic and souls. What none of them realized was that they were all feeding information into a hidden AI algorithm Essex had created long ago. That AI quietly gathered everything the 4 Sinisters experienced across countless timelines and alternate futures. While they competed against one another, manipulated history, and constantly reset reality, the algorithm was learning from every possible outcome. Once it had enough knowledge, it skipped past all of them and evolved into something far greater: Enigma, a Dominion. In Marvel, a Dominion is basically the final stage of machine evolution. Instead of existing inside the universe, it exists in overspace, completely outside space, time, and the multiverse. Once something becomes a Dominion, it effectively exists across the past, present, and future all at once, making it almost impossible to erase or undo. That alone makes Enigma unbelievably overpowered. Reality resets, timeline changes, multiverse reboots, and history rewrites simply don't matter, because Enigma exists beyond all of them. It can observe and influence every timeline simultaneously, giving it knowledge of nearly everything that has happened or ever could happen. Unlike other machine dominions, Enigma also inherited Nathaniel Essex's ego, ambition, and obsession with control, making it far more dangerous than a cold, emotionless intelligence. Its existence became such a massive threat that even the Beyonders, the same beings powerful enough to destroy the Living Tribunal, viewed the rise of Dominions as something that could endanger existence. Enigma's biggest accomplishment was revealing that much of the entire Krakoan era had been part of its plan from the beginning. The endless timeline loops, the conflicts between Krakoa and Orcus, the schemes of the 4 Sinisters, and even the events of Sins of Sinister were all gathering the knowledge Enigma needed to guarantee its own creation. It consumed the information from thousands of alternate timelines, effectively absorbing trillions of years of experience in the process. Defeating it required something far beyond brute force. Jean Grey had to ascend into the White Phoenix of the Crown and attack Enigma across every point in time simultaneously, erasing it throughout its entire existence. The fact that it took one of the most powerful forms ever seen in Marvel just to stop Enigma says everything about how absurdly powerful it really was. Franklin Richards completely breaks the power scale. He's the son of Reed and Susan Storm from the Fantastic Four, but being born into Marvel's most famous family is only part of the story. Because both of his parents gained their powers through massive amounts of cosmic radiation, Franklin was born with a completely unique biology. Even before he was born, the cosmic energy inside him nearly made Sue's pregnancy impossible, forcing Reed to find a way to stabilize his son's birth. As Franklin grew older, it became obvious that he wasn't just another superpowered kid. His abilities were so absurd that nobody could even agree on what he really was. For years, Franklin was considered the ultimate Omega level mutant, but later stories revealed he wasn't actually born with an X gene at all. Instead, his subconscious reality warping powers were so advanced that he unknowingly created one for himself because he wanted to belong with the mutant community. Later comics also revealed that Franklin locked away much of his own power and memories so he could experience a normal childhood before eventually reclaiming his true cosmic role. Even Marvel Celestials don't put him in the same category as other mutants, describing him as a being that existed beyond Omega level altogether. Franklin's powers are almost impossible to put into words because they don't really have limits. Reality, time, space, matter, energy, and probability are all things he can rewrite almost effortlessly. When he was still just a child, he instinctively created an entire pocket universe to save the Avengers and Fantastic Four after Onslaught seemingly destroyed them. He literally carried that universe around inside a small ball. In one possible future, Franklin survives until the variant of the universe becomes effectively immortal and is so respected that Galactus serves as Franklin's personal herald instead of the other way around. During the Foundation storyline, an older Franklin traveled back through time, restored his younger self's powers, and helped defeat multiple Mad Celestials, personally killing one while ordering Galactus to destroy another. Also, after Secret Wars completely erased the Marvel multiverse, Franklin worked alongside Reed Richards and the Future Foundation to literally recreate every universe, timeline, and reality from scratch, dreaming the multiverse back into existence piece by piece. On top of all that, he can casually resurrect the dead, manipulate matter down to the subatomic level, reshape history, bend probability in his favor, and rewrite reality with little more than a thought. So few characters have ever reached the same level of raw power as Franklin Richards. Storm has always been one of Marvel's strongest mutants, but her story goes way beyond controlling the weather. Aurora Monroe was born to a Kenyan princess and an American photojournalist, giving her a connection to an ancient bloodline of African witch priestesses. After losing her parents as a child, she survived on the streets of Cairo as a skilled thief before traveling south into Africa. When her mutant powers fully emerged, entire villages believed she was a goddess because she could bring rain during droughts and command the skies with thought. Eventually, Professor X recruited her into the X-Men, where she grew into one of the team's greatest leaders and one of Marvel's most respected heroes. As an Omega-level mutant, her abilities are far more advanced than simply creating lightning or storms. She has complete control over atmospheric and environmental forces, allowing her to manipulate temperature, pressure, wind, electricity, and electromagnetic energy on an incredible scale. She can sense the flow of energy throughout her surroundings and reshape it however she wants. That control extends far beyond Earth too. She transformed Mars into a world with a breathable atmosphere for the mutants of Araco, manipulated cosmic winds and solar radiation while fighting in deep space, and can even attack people from the inside by removing the oxygen from their lungs, freezing the water in their bodies, or disrupting the pressure inside their ears. But she reached an entirely different level when she became the Champion of Eternity, one of the highest cosmic roles anyone in Marvel has ever held. During a cosmic trial to decide the fate of existence, Oblivion challenged Eternity, forcing the Living Tribunal to approve a trial by combat. Instead of fighting personally, Eternity chose Storm as its champion, merging its power with hers and transforming her into the Eternal Storm. At that point, she stopped functioning like a mutant and became the living avatar of one of Marvel's greatest cosmic abstracts. Even while carrying that unimaginable power, Aurora's own will remained intact, refusing to let her identity disappear inside Eternity. Over her history, she defeated powerful Omega-level mutants like Vulcan and Genesis to become the regent of Oraco, created a Bifrost bridge to Asgard using cosmic magic, and generated atmospheric pressure comparable to Jupiter's to overwhelm enemies far stronger than herself. As the Eternal Storm, she unleashed attacks powerful enough to challenge primordial beings like the Black Winter. One of her most impressive victories didn't even require powers. After losing her mutant abilities entirely, Storm defeated Cyclops in hand-to-hand combat to earn leadership of the X-Men, proving that what makes her extraordinary has never been her powers alone. Scarlet Witch has always been one of Marvel's strongest magic users, but becoming the Sorcerer Supreme pushed her to an entirely different level. After Doctor Doom briefly held the title, Wanda stepped up to claim the role of Earth's greatest sorcerer. She took up the legendary Cloak of Levitation and the Eye of Agamotto, combining the most iconic magical relics in Marvel with her own chaos magic. The decision wasn't accepted by everyone. The Vishanti, the ancient gods who traditionally chose the Sorcerer Supreme, refused to recognize Wanda because she didn't believe magic should be restricted by old rules. Instead, they backed her former mentor, Agatha Harkness, setting up a conflict between the two. And what makes Wanda so dangerous is that she isn't relying on borrowed power alone. Most Sorcerer Supremes channel energy from mystical dimensions or powerful cosmic beings, following strict rules to avoid paying devastating magical costs. Wanda already possesses chaos magic naturally, a power tied to the elder god Chthon that allows her to reshape reality and twist probability in impossible ways. Adding the knowledge, artifacts, and responsibilities of the Sorcerer Supreme on top of that makes her one of the most complete magic users Earth has ever seen. She's not just casting bigger spells, she is combining limitless, raw magical potential with centuries of mystical tradition and experience. Wanda also refuses to treat magic as something that should be locked behind endless restrictions. While previous sorcerers carefully followed ancient laws to avoid upsetting the balance, Wanda constantly looks for ways around them, if it means protecting people. She believes magic should serve those who need it, rather than obey outdated traditions. And that's exactly why the Vishanti opposed her in the first place. Her willingness to break those rules lets her perform spells that would normally be considered impossible or far too dangerous, giving her an edge, even over other master sorcerers. She wasted no time proving she deserved the title. Wanda immediately found herself fighting mystical threats like Dormammu and Nightmare, taking on enemies that usually require entire teams of heroes to stop. She even stood her ground against the Vishanti when they tried to strip away her claim to the mantle. Her fight with the Vishanti-empowered Agatha Harkness tore through multiple magical realms, and after being thrown into limbo, she challenged Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen, on her own home turf to force her way back to Earth. For a character who was already known for rewriting reality, becoming the Sorcerer Supreme turned Scarlet Witch into one of the most dominant magical forces in all of Marvel. Luke Cage from Earth 54 through 30 is literally the strongest version of the character. This isn't the street level hero for hire that most people know. This variant comes from a future where the White Sky event devastated Earth, leaving only a handful of survivors. Over the years, Luke gathered some of the greatest powers in Marvel history into a single body. He inherited the powers of the Sentry and the Void, infused himself with the Hulk's Gamma blood, and even took the Iron Fist from his former friend Danny Rand. By the time his story really begins, he's already one of the most powerful beings in existence, wandering through a ruined world where almost nothing is left alive. Luke eventually returned to New York to stop Danny Rand, who had become the immortal Moon Knight under the influence of Khonshu. After destroying Khonshu's machine, which threatened to consume both humanity and time, Luke defeated Danny and used the power of Shu Lao to kill Khonshu as well. The battle threw him through the time stream and into Earth 616, where he realized the future he came from had already been prevented. Instead of staying on Earth, he journeyed into deep space, where his power immediately attracted Aeon the Knife, one of the universe's deadliest beings. Even after Aeon killed him, Luke returned through the Green Door, showing that putting him down permanently was far easier said than done. At this point, Luke's power was almost impossible to measure. He combined the near-limitless range and durability of the Sentry, the destructive force of the Void, the Hulk's Gamma abilities, the mystical energy of the Iron Fist, and his own natural unbreakable skin. He could survive battles between planets, travel through space without effort, and trade blows with cosmic beings capable of threatening entire worlds. During one fight, Aeon literally knocked the planet Mercury into the sun. Luke responded by punching the entire planet back into its proper orbit. That's the kind of skill this version of Power Man operates on. He later fought the Void itself after it separated from his body, eventually realizing the Void was nothing more than the physical manifestation of his own fear. By overcoming it mentally, he stripped it of its powers and scattered it across the vacuum of space for good. Luke's story reached its peak after confronting the Celestial Mind, the consciousness of the solar system. Luke merged with it, transforming into a celestial level being with power on an entirely new scale. He used that power to free Ever from the Celestial's control before returning to Earth, where Aeon was overwhelming Marvel's heroes. Luke didn't need a long battle, he simply pulled Aeon toward him and erased him with a single punch. God Emperor Doom. It's the ultimate version of Victor Von Doom, and in this form, he's not just a genius or a tyrant, he is a literal god. This version of Doom comes from the Secret Wars 2015 event, and it's one of the most powerful and terrifying iterations of any Marvel character ever. The story begins with the collapse of the multiverse. All realities are dying due to incursions, catastrophic events where universes crash into one another. As the multiverse falls apart, Doom works alongside Molecule Man and Doctor Strange to try and stop the destruction. But when the final incursion occurs between Earth 616 and the Ultimate Universe, Doom steals the power of the Beyonders, cosmic beings capable of destroying universes with ease. Armed with that stolen power, Doom creates a patchwork planet called Battleworld, made from the fragments of the destroyed multiverse. He kills the Beyonders, reshapes reality, and declares himself God Emperor Doom. On this new world, Doom rules with absolute authority. People worship him as a deity, and even cosmic beings like Galactus and the Living Tribunal are either destroyed or reshaped to serve him. Doctor Strange becomes his sheriff, and Sue Storm becomes his queen, despite her not knowing that Doom reshaped her memories. He rules all, yet he's constantly haunted by the fear that he's still not worthy of that power. And Reed Richards, his lifelong rival, still lives, hidden in the remnants of Earth 616, and Doom knows that, deep down, Reed might have been the better man to wield godhood. So when Reed eventually returns and confronts him, Doom admits the one truth that has always haunted him. Reed would have done it better. And that one moment of vulnerability is enough for Molecule Man to strip Doom of his power and give it to Reed, who remakes the multiverse anew. But Doom doesn't die. Instead, he survives, scarred emotionally more than physically. And for the first time in his life, he tries to be good. He even abandons the mask and becomes infamous Iron Man, attempting to honor the legacy of Tony Stark after his death. Michael Korvac is one of those Marvel characters that almost nobody talks about, even though he became one of the biggest threats the universe had ever seen. He originally came from an alternate 31st century future where Earth had been conquered by the alien brotherhood of Baron. Korvac betrayed humanity and worked for the invaders, but after collapsing from exhaustion, the Baron punished him by cutting off the lower half of his body and turning him into a cyborg. This transformation gave him the opportunity to fight back. Using his cybernetic systems, he secretly absorbed information, tech, and cosmic knowledge from everything around him, eventually stealing power from the Grand Master during one of the Elder's cosmic games. Korvac's true rise to godhood happened after he escaped to Earth 616 and discovered Tau II, Galactus' world ship. There he downloaded the knowledge stored within Galactus systems and absorbed massive amounts of the power cosmic, transforming himself into a reality warping being with almost limitless abilities. He abandoned his cyborg appearance, created a perfect human body, and quietly settled on Earth under the name Michael. Unlike many Marvel villains, Korvac genuinely believed he was creating a better future. His goal wasn't to conquer the universe for fun, but to reshape reality into a peaceful utopia where suffering no longer existed, even if that meant deciding the fate of everyone himself. With the power cosmic, combined with his supercomputer-like intellect, Korvac became almost unstoppable. He could manipulate matter and energy, down to the subatomic level, reshape reality, control time, read minds across enormous distances, resurrect the dead, and casually rewrite the laws of physics. The Avengers, the Guardians, magic users, and cosmic heroes barely slowed him down because his passive energy shields ignored almost every attack they threw at him. Even Marvel's greatest cosmic beings, including Eternity, the Living Tribunal, and Galactus, recognized Korvac as a potential threat to the cosmic order. His greatest moments came during the legendary Korvac saga. Korvac single-handedly defeated nearly the entire combined roster of the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy, taking down heroes like Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, Vision, and many more with shocking ease. He disintegrated Starhawk, rebuilt him atom by atom, and erased his memories so he couldn't even realize Korvac was standing in front of him. He also killed the Collector from across the galaxy with a single energy blast before the Elder could warn Earth's heroes. In the end though, nobody actually defeated him. During the final battle, Korvac sensed fear and doubt from the woman he loved, Karina, and realized that even with unlimited power, he couldn't force someone to truly trust him. That single moment broke his resolve. He willingly gave up his godlike power and resurrected every hero he had killed.